Hello and welcome to Gravitas WINS Conversations. I'm your host, Joseph Jude. Generative AI can now answer almost any technical question. It can write code, debug systems, and even suggest architectural designs. But for most ambitious CTOs, answers aren't what they are looking for. What they often need is not more knowledge, but more clarity about themselves, their teams, and their leadership styles. My guest today is Viktor Nyblom, a CTO coach, angel investor, and author of some of the most insightful writings on technical leadership that I've read. Victor works with CTOs who are already performing at a high level, helping them unlock new levels of influence, energy, and organizational impact. His coaching isn't about giving you answers, but about challenging how you think so you can scale not just systems, but yourself. We are going to talk about what a human coach can give that AI can never do, why even smartest leaders get stuck in the old way of thinking, and why sometimes even CTOs like me need someone else to point out what we can't see for ourselves. As a CTO, I'm looking forward to this conversation. Before we get into the interview, can I request you to subscribe to the podcast, write a review, and share the podcast with your fellow business leaders? Hi, Victor. Welcome to the conversation.
Hi, Joe. Happy to be here.
Let's start with this, Victor. Why do elite CTOs who are already performing at a higher level still need a coach?
Well, I mean, from my point of view, it's fairly simple. It's because we're all humans. And as humans, we can't really see ourselves objectively. Like we have some image in our head about who we are, where we are going, what we know, and like how we're gonna get there. But our field of view is very narrow. So by hiring a coach, you can sort of expand your view, or rather, you get help expanding your view so you see more options and you see your blind spots. And I would say that is the main reason for hiring a coach. Like it sounds trivial, but yeah.
Absolutely. Victor, you rightly said we all need to expand our field of vision, and a coach can help.
Yep.
Now, obviously, we are talking in the ChatGPT era. I can go to ChatGPT. I can ask whatever question. I can put in my all the questions that I'm asking. I can put them into memory, and then I can go and ask what are my blind spots, what I'm not seeing myself, and ChatGPT can answer as well.
Mhm.
Given that, what can a human coach do or does that ChatGPT can't do?
Mhm. So I love that you dive straight into AI coaching. And let me be clear, I like Claude is one of my personal coaches. All right. Claude is excellent at coaching me. But what Claude cannot do, at least not yet, is like look me straight into my eyes and like ask me, really? Really? Are you sure? And then pick up how I sort of flinch, you know, when I get that question. And I start thinking, was I really being honest with myself there? Is there something deeper? And AI can't do that yet. And also, I think there is something magical that happens in the sort of connection between two humans. Like we can talk more about that later, but I don't think AI will ever be able to replicate that sort of super intimate connection. Like it can fake it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it can fake it. I don't think
Hmm.
it can get to that. And then that's where CTOs, the elite performance, whoever it is, elite
Yep.
performance, whether it is surgeons or CTOs or CEOs or anyone, they can find the bullshit. They can find that fakeness that very quickly. So probably that's where the human connections will come. So, okay. So let us say, for example, I come in and say, hey, Victor, I understand I can't get this from ChatGPT. I need to go with a human coach. And I say, okay, Victor, I'm going to have you as a coach. Walk me
Mhm.
through your coaching model or a framework. How does it work when I when I reach out to you? How
Mhm.
do you onboard me? Walk me through that, please.
Well, I mean, first of all, we have like just a conversation to see if we're a match. I will ask you some questions about you and where you want to go, and what your like barriers are or how you perceive them. And that is as much for my sake as for your sake, because coaching is a partnership. So if we are not 100% on board with each other, then it's never going to work. So that's super important. After that, we'll sort of spend the first real session digging into what kind of transformation you want to achieve during the next, say, 3 to 6 months, maybe over a year. All right. Well, what's your goal? What's your dreams? What's your vision for yourself and your role in your life? Right. So that's sort of it. And a lot of people are surprised by this because they sort of expect me to bring a lot of information. My information is on my blog. It's free for everybody, right? Just go there. All the answers are there already. What I do with clients is I work with transformation, and that's a very different thing. We have information on the blog, free of charge, and then we have the one-on-one work, which is transformation. And from there, it really depends on like what's your goal, what do you want to achieve, where are you holding back. Say perhaps you're building your own like leadership team within engineering. You're unsure about how to deal with certain relationships, then I can help you coach not just yourself but your team as well, to sort of coach you as a whole. Maybe there's some sort of disconnect between tech and the business. For those who are listening, I'm doing the sort of quotation marks because I think tech is all about business. But then maybe we have a sit down with you and your CEO to align expectations as a starting point. Like, what does the CTO expect from the CEO, and what does the CEO expect from the CTO? Because that is one of the most important relationships in the company, right? And after that, we work ideally bi-weekly, around 45-minute calls to an hour, and we just work through your barriers, your most important problem right now. Depending on your journey, I have a stack of exercises that you can do in between. Sometimes it's just a question for you to ponder, right?
Good. Victor, as you said, there's a whole bunch of information that you have written on your blog. So I'm going to pick up some of those things and ask, why do you think that is important and what role does it play? One of the things that you keep talking about is energy.
Mhm.
In fact, you place energy much before the time management and then all the other aspects that normally you would expect from a coach. Why do you think energy is that high in the list? And what happens when I put my energy in order?
I think energy is the multiplier. It's a simple answer. Like if you like, you could also say intensity. So if you
Mhm.
go and do a task with sort of low energy or intensity, you will have low to mediocre outputs. But if your energy is high, if you're really in it and super focused, and you like attack the problem, I believe you can achieve any outcome you want. And then comes the second part, which is, okay, how do you do this without like completely crashing, right?
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
if you go in with super high energy, you need to plan time to recover so that the next thing you do also has high energy. Otherwise, you flame out fairly quickly.
That was one of the next questions that I want to ask about burnout. But before I
Mhm.
go there, are you talking about mental energy or physical energy? And how does it really manifest? Uh, let's say, for example, I'm taking this podcast. How would I come with full energy into this particular podcast?
Yeah.
How does it reflect? How does it manifest outside?
Mm. Oh, that's a great question. So I'm talking about both. So you have both the physical and the mental energy. And for some, I would say also spiritual energy, going into religion, like spiritual energy is also a factor. And for me, the work begins yesterday or the week before. You're smiling because you know this already. Like, I can't go in with full energy into a podcast and deliver the best version of myself if I didn't get enough sleep, right? Because then my body will be down and then my mental energy will be down as well. All right. So that's number one, get enough sleep. I love my morning ritual, feed the cats, grab a cup of coffee, and journal. Right, that sort of brings me a laser focus for the day. And that laser focus is something I can come back to time and time again to sort of replenish my mental energy. So, okay, wait, what am I doing here? What's my goal today? Why am I doing this? What's my vision for myself? All of that, right? So there are lots of different tricks, but like most important one is start yesterday.
Now let's touch upon the burnout that you talked about. What are the signs of a burnout? Because again, if I'm going to come with a full energy intensity, I'm going to come with all of that, and then I'm going to do that with all the tasks that are before me.
Mm.
Very easily, both physically and mentally, I could crash out. I could burn out. How can I identify it before I crash out? And then what are the things that I can do to avoid it in the longer duration?
Mm. That's a great question. So there are a few signs. I've experienced burnout myself. One of the signs was all the people around me started telling me that, hey, you look a bit tired.
Yeah.
Like you look a bit stressed. So the first tip will be like actually listen to those people because they care about you. I didn't, but they were definitely there. Second is if you're sort of having trouble recovering between days. Like Monday, you have super high energy. Tuesday, a little bit less. Wednesday, even less. Thursday, you're really down. And then Friday comes and you can't really perform at all. Like something is wrong there. I would recommend looking into sort of recovery. Probably do an energy audit of your calendar, see how you're spending your time. Third is just this feeling of paddling. Like I have this mental image of a duck sitting in the water, head above the water and legs frantically paddling and not really getting anywhere. You know, a lot of energy is going out, but you're not getting anywhere. Like that is a sign that something is not right. And oftentimes you don't know exactly what is wrong either. Like you just know that something needs to be changed. That is one of the blind spots we were talking about in the beginning, right? So I would say those are the three main ones.
I think that's where the human coach comes in,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So how will I say that to a machine, a chat GPT, and say, help me?
Yeah,
Because I don't know what I don't know. So that's where
exactly.
probably when I'm talking to you and say, hey, you know what, Monday I'm this, and by Friday I'm not doing this. Maybe you can ask a couple of questions, and you will also come with your own experience of helping so many other leaders, and you will
Mm,
say, are you doing this? And
exactly.
kind of like pinpoint that particular blind spot. Victor, when we are talking about this, one of the things that you're talking about is recovery.
Mhm.
Again, what would you suggest for recovery, and what do you do for recovery?
It's all about finding the thing that you keep doing.
Mhm.
I think it's same with like exercise. The best exercise is the one that you keep doing over and over again over a long period of time. So like for me, I like taking Saturdays off. Is if you're an employee, this might sound weird. That why not both Saturday, Sunday? But I have this sort of itch in myself. I want to work, so I work Sunday mornings. But Saturdays is like my recovery day. I don't touch work on Saturdays. I work out. I think I'm up to 4 to 5 days a week. I go to the gym. That sort of shuts my mind off, weirdly enough, so I get more energy by expending energy. Diet is another thing. Now here's a cool thing. Since I'm exercising as much as I do, I want to prioritize a good diet because that feeds into my exercise, which also feeds into my mental energy. So you get this like virtuous cycle there.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. Yeah. And one of the thing about this recovery is also in the Jewish custom, there is a concept called Sabbath,
Yes.
and they shut it out. And that's one thing that even though I'm not Jewish, like we practice it at home. Sunday we go to church, and after that, no device.
Mm,
And every day evening after 9 o'clock, no device. You're not supposed
nice.
to touch the device. We have to sit down. We'll sit down, have dinner together. We'll chat as a family. We can read books if you want to, if you're not getting sleep, but no device. So those are some of the things. And then workout. Strangely enough, as you rightly said, strangely enough, when you expand energy, you get more energy because you go and have good diet and your mind is fresh, all of that. So which is good. So let's move on to the next one. You talk about user manual of me. I find it very intriguing and interesting.
Yes.
Uh, and please talk to me how that helps for your own clarity and how does it work or how does it help building the team?
All right. So let's go back to one of my sort of principles in leadership and in life, which is I prefer explicit over implicit. So that ties into the clarity point, right? I want to be as clear as possible about everything so that I reduce the number of misunderstandings and thereby reduce the friction, right? So how do I do that in a leadership position? Well, I mean, just write down how to best communicate with me, right? I hate sort of casual Slack messages. There's this great site called knowhello.net, which is all about never just write hello. Like you can hear me talking about this. This triggers me, right? So like that's the point in my use manual. Just write the question right away. Get to the point fast. Because that's how I operate. But it's not how everybody operates, right? So you might have a different thing about how to communicate with you. Maybe you love the small talk. Maybe you want to know what I did in the weekend before diving into the topic, right? So this user manual of me, is exactly what it sounds like. It's a way to sort of make explicit all the sort of behaviors and little nuances that makes me, so that you know exactly how I will react to things.
So you are saying, I don't like small talk.
Mhm.
Don't say hello. Just get to the question. That's how you would want to operate.
Right.
But I am on the other side. I'm in your team. I'm one of your team member. How do you kind of make sure that I actually follow this, not in an authoritarian way, not just me, you are going to have a couple of team members. And how do you expect them to kind of follow that user manual of you, what you have created?
First of all, I don't expect them to follow it immediately. As a, like, I have this saying that you need to say something 7 times in 7 different ways,
Yes.
and then people will start understanding it. So if you go in with that mentality, you'll probably be less disappointed.
Very
And
good.
we're all humans, like, right? So just like have some compassion. That's number one.
One of the things that you talked about when we talked about this user manual is the implicit versus explicit.
Yeah.
I think probably it is also cultural. I come from an Indian culture where a lot of things are implicit.
Hmm.
And I worked with Europeans. I've been in Belgium. I've worked in the European setup. And to a large extent, it is a lot more explicit. And I'll give you an example. So, say, for example, we are all sitting in the office and you come to me and say, hey, Joseph, let's go for a lunch. I may not want to go for a lunch with you. As an European, I would say, no, Victor, I don't want to come for lunch with you. And I wouldn't say it as an Indian. It will feel offending. So I
Hmm.
would say, hey, Victor, today is fish, right? I don't eat fish. And
Mm.
you wouldn't get that. You would say, if you don't eat fish, you can eat vegetables. Come.
Right.
And you would expect a very explicit answer. But I would keep dodging with a very indirect way of saying things. I think when you
Hmm.
work in a multicultural setup, I think the user manual of me really helps to
Yep.
say, this is how I operate, this is how I would appreciate if you could treat me like this. That makes it a lot more explicit, even for the implicit people.
Yeah.
And when they have to work with you, they can adjust to that. And then you can avoid a lot of disappointments and a lot of these kinds of issues as well. So, which is good.
Yes. And I
Uh,
think that's a beautiful way of phrasing it. I would appreciate it if da da da. Right. But let me just point out one thing. Sweden is not Belgium. So the Swedish culture is a lot more similar to what you describe as the Indian culture. As we are as like a people, as a culture, Swedes are very non-confrontative. We don't wanna offend people. So we might go along with things just to keep other people happy as well.
as you grow in your career, and when you come at the top level, one of the top levels that you can hit, that makes a lot of sense. And even in an implicit culture, you can avoid a lot of this back and forth, and you can make decisions quickly and then you can move forward because at a higher level, you need to operate very quickly.
Yep.
And if you can understand each other in a team, it makes it a lot more easier to operate as a team. And that
Exactly.
helps. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. Because you can go straight to the idea, right?
Absolutely. Again, Victor, one of the other things that you talk about is to be a best CTO or an elite CTO, it is not just scaling teams, but scaling oneself.
Yes.
Can you explain that? What does it look like in a team setup, a corporate setup? How does it look like when a CTO can scale themselves up?
Mhm. So it's like a journey from, if you look at the journey of a company or a startup, like in the beginning you're probably the first and only developer, right? So so your value contribution is writing code
Hmm.
day in, day out. And then you hire a person, so then you sort of manage. And then you hire a few more people, and then you really start managing. And each sort of step you need to sort of take a step back and make sure you pull the right lever, right? Because writing code is not how you make the largest impact anymore when you have 10 people on the team. You need to manage the team to make sure they're focused in the right way. And the more this sort of progresses, the more the startup grows, the more you need to start leading with your values and vision. As those are, I think vision is like the ultimate lever, as that using the right vision, inspiring people to go to Mars, say. Like you can focus the energy in the same direction without actually telling anybody what to do. Kind of. Kind of. I'm exaggerating a bit. Like, I love good management. Let's be clear about that. But in theory, that's possible, right? The problem is, like, when you're used to having your value contribution be a piece of code, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden you're not delivering a single piece of code anymore. You need to shift how you see yourself. Because
True.
if you don't, like, there will be some sort of disconnect between what you say and what you do. As you keep gravitating back towards the sort of low leverage tasks. So you need to change your own vision about yourself so that you can focus on the high leverage tasks. And to make it a bit harder, this sort of needs to happen gradually as the company grows.
Mm-hmm.
And being appropriate in each step of the company's growth is super difficult. I think most people get some parts wrong, and that's fine.
One of the things that you also say, you sign off, says, be little kinder than necessary. So there's a whole bunch of high intensity, high performance, and all of that. Generally, that means what I want, what I want to get. I don't care about you. What I want to get. That's how normally it has been shaped, the thought process and the mindset. But then you are also going to the other side and saying, hey, be a little kinder than what is necessary. Explain me that, and how does it balance out? How can an performer, a high performer, how can they take that mindset in that particular high performing situation?
When you go into a meeting trying to decide the future of the company, you're stepping onto the playing field. It's game time. And you need to bring your full self and not hold back. Right. But as soon as the meeting is over, it's like we're all just people again. Right. And this sort of shift back to the human world can only happen if you on the field you're just focusing on getting the ball into the goal. Right. That's the main objective. But if you start like focusing on the people and like yelling at people, people will feel down and they won't perform at their peak level. So if you're sort of being mean, now I'm taking the extreme, you're degrading the whole team's performance, which makes it less likely for you to get the ball into the net. It's like on the field, it actually has an impact on the performance. And then off the field, it's super important because like if you build, like Google has this, what's it called? Aristotle, I think. Project Aristotle, where they look at team performance. And unsurprisingly, they cite like psychological safety as one of the main pillars.
Yeah.
Right. And I think one way to bring more psychological safety is to just like be human, like be nice to people. And by being nicer to other people, you're also like you feel better about yourself.
Each of the topics that we have talked about, they are all layers.
Yep.
I think only when you have clarity about yourself, what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, what my vision is, what I want to achieve, and how I want to achieve, and what I want to be for my team members, I think that is when you can be kinder to the others, because you also know you also need kindness, because you're not going to meet your own requirement of that particular standard, and you're going to fall, and then you're going to say, hey, if I fall, I mean, it's possible the others also, so let me be kinder to them and lift them up. The other thing that I'm hearing from you, Victor, is also on the field and off the field analogy that you talked about. When you are working on a particular problem, or when you are working on a particular escalation in an IT industry that can happen, bring all your intensity. That's your on-field work. But then when you are stepping away from it, be cool, chill, be kinder. Don't bring that particular intensity. And which is where I think that particular balance has to happen, which is what I think, right?
So good example there, actually. So when I was CTO at Baby Journey, we had an incident where all of a sudden our users couldn't click on articles, like our main selling points, like 2,000 something articles, suddenly unusable. That is not the time to be chill. right? And like that is the time for everybody to step up and say, hey, we're gonna fix this now. All right. And we did, to be clear. Like the team pulled together, everybody worked late to fix this. When it was done, we could sort of pull back the intensity. We did an incident report, a postmortem, and like I was very clear. I don't care who did what.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not here to punish people. I'm here to get to the sort of root cause of the systemic problem that made us get here in the first place. Like what in our process made it possible for a person to make this mistake. Because if you can fix that and people know if people know they won't get punished, they will be more honest. And if they're honest, then it's possible to get to the root cause. If they're afraid to get punished, like they will hold back.
And I think it all boils down to that the earlier phrase that you talked about, focus on the game, not on the player. And then you are always going to say, okay, how can I win this particular game? And
Yes.
if I can put in the systems, processes, and whatever competencies that I need to bring in to win the game, not really looking at you didn't do this kind of a player pointing fingers at
Exactly.
the players, I think everybody will do well, and which is good. Victor, again, as I said, we can keep on talking. There's a lot that we can talk. Probably we need to have another segment on the psychological safety itself. How can we build psychological safety in the team, and what can CTOs and their leaders can do? But before we go, one of the things that you talked about is the physical energy, mental energy, and you also talked about spiritual energy. We haven't touched upon it.
Yeah.
Can you throw some light on it? Again, we don't have to go into the religion, religious practices, and all of those kinds of stuff. But what do you mean by that? And how can, again, in a diverse environment, how can we practice that?
Yeah. So this differs depending on who you ask. But for me, it's about having a higher purpose. Like, what are you put on this earth to do? All right. For me, it's I want to help other people succeed. I feel that in my bones. That's why I coach. That's why I do this. And I think if you don't have any way to sort of connect to your higher purpose, there's like a piece missing in your life and you can't really put your finger on it. But I'll be very curious to hear your thoughts on this as well.
Rightly said, Victor, if we can find that particular core meaning or the purpose, I think everything will start falling in places. So one of the things that I have done is, which is what Stephen Covey talks about in his book, is to write your obituary, which is what your wife, what your kids, what your colleagues want them to say on your obituary as an obituary.
Mm.
And surprisingly, when I first read it, I read it when I was 27, 28. I was young. I couldn't even figure out what it means. So I didn't do it. I read the book. I did other exercise that he talks about, but I didn't do this. But when my wife was admitted for the first delivery, because of certain complications, she was admitted for 15 days. So that was a very anxious moment for me. And I thought that's the time I can sit down and write. So I wrote, what my wife would want to say, what my kids would want to say, all of that I wrote. I wrote almost like 15, 16 years back. And I published it in my blog after a very long time, because when I talk to people would ask me that, hey, this seems to be a good one, so why have we not written about it? So I wrote about it later. But I wrote it, and when I look at it today, after about 16, 17 years or 20 years later, I'm so surprised my life fits exactly into that. And a couple of days back, I asked my wife to read it. She doesn't know about this. And I asked her, would you say this actually? Would you want, have I lived my life like this? And I asked my son also to read it and say, have I lived my life? My son read it and said, Pa, I would say this. This is exactly how you have behaved at home. So that's one thing that I would say, that write your obituary.
Mm.
So I have also my corporate principles, like what you said about user manual of me. So I have one of the principle for me is I don't play zero sum game. You don't have to lose for me to win.
Mm.
We both can collaborate. We can both can get what we want out of our engagement and collaboration. So I have written that kind of principles, and if possible, sometimes I share that with my team as well whenever I work with them, and then say this is how I operate, and it helps you a lot of clarity, brings you a lot of clarity for yourself and with the others also. And when there is a clash, you can always go back to this, and am I living to this?
Yes.
It brings a lot of clarity, and when everything else will kind of formulate around that, your pursuit of wealth, your pursuit of networking, your pursuit of whatever hobbies that you have, all of that will kind of formulate around that particular purpose.
It's a great idea. I'm gonna do that. Gonna schedule it for this weekend because
Uh,
I've written like obituaries for products. So you write it
yeah,
when you start the project, and then you write everything that went wrong,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden you have like a list of things to avoid.
absolutely. Same principle, right? I've
Okay.
also done that pre-mortem, but I've never
Mm.
connected it to that. Okay. Victor, to all my guests, I ask three rapid fire questions. So here it goes. What's the kindest thing someone has done for you?
Oh wow. I mean, the thing that popped up was the enormous amount of time and energy my mentor has gifted me, like free of charge. I don't know why he so helps me as much as he does. So
Very
I
good
would have
answer.
to say that, yeah.
Yeah, very good answer. I also owe my corporate life to my mentor.
Mm.
He opened, so probably in about 90, maybe 2000, around 2098, 2000 is when I met him.
Mm.
And he has been my mentor. And probably 6, 7 doors, corporate doors, he has opened for me. And he has not gained anything at all out of it.
Wow.
Nothing, zero.
Yeah.
But he kept, until he retired, he kept opening doors after one after the other. And I went and asked him, how can I pay it back to you? And he said,
Hmm.
pay it forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I was
Uh,
just about to ask how you pay it forward.
I mean, I try my best the similar way,
Yeah.
uh, to open doors for others, to connect people,
Yeah.
and to help them in perform at the best, whatever that they could, and help them with some getting some clarity and so on and so forth. Victor, this podcast is about leadership. In that sense, what do you think the best leadership quality and who has manifested it in your life?
I would have to say the person, and I would have to say my mom, because she's been a leader, I think, all my life.
Mm-hmm.
She was a manager at Volvo, huge company here in Sweden. I
Yeah.
think they have like 100,000 employees in Sweden alone.
Mhm.
And she would sort of bring work home with her. She was
Mhm.
super early with this sort of work from home, like back in the
Mhm.
90s. She would sit home and take calls. And she would also bring me along to her job to see her sort of interact. I think it was because the daycare was closed, so she sort of had to. But I got this like ride along to
Mhm.
see how she interacted with people, how she put people first in her leadership, right? It was this one year, I think say it was maybe 13 or 14, when Volvo canceled all the sort of Christmas dinners. That's a big thing here in Sweden, by the way. The company you work for normally pays for the staff to go out and have a huge dinner together. but they had to cut back, so they canceled it for everybody. And my mom sort of stepped up and said, no, we need to have this shared meal and just congratulate ourselves. So she invited her whole department, I think it was like 25 people or something, to our home. Everybody brought something to eat, right? But just like the thing to bring people together, and like the importance of sharing that meal together and stepping up, opening our doors, saying, come here, let's be here. I think that sort of people first mentality has stuck with me my whole career.
I can understand why you are doing what you're doing, Victor.
Yeah.
Finally, Victor, what's your definition of living a good life?
I think a good life is a life of, I think it was Toby Lütke, founder and CEO of Shopify, who said, like, a version of going on a journey, solving hard problems together with people you love. I think
Fantastic.
that's sort of it for me. Yeah.
That's a wonderful place to finish, Victor. Thank you so much for taking your time and sharing all your knowledge, mentorship, and all the coaching principles with me and with the audience. Thank you very much, Victor.
Thanks for having me. This was super fun.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation. Can I request you to share the key takeaways from our conversation? If you like the conversation, please share the podcast with others. Have a life of wins.